Hello guys and welcome to a pretty nostalgic video. My longtime subscribers might remember this, but 3 years ago I made a video called The Infinite Maze, in which I just basically made a maze which keeps generating as you walk through it. But in 3 years a lot has happened and my command block skills have improved a lot, so I thought why not just recreate it and make it a lot better. So here's how it turned out. To spawn the maze, you just have to call the function called spawn maze and it will be generated. Now as you walk through it, as you would expect, it keeps generating. In F5 mode this is a little better to see, so it just keeps generating. In my previous version I actually simply cloned the different segments into the maze, which, I mean, it worked, but it wasn't very efficient and cool. So for this version, the second version, I'm not using any clone commands, I'm using functions only, so this works in any world whatsoever, and it works extremely reliably and fast. So if we just go up, we can fly around and it keeps generating underneath us. Very reliable. So of course, in this version I also built some segments, which you can see right here, but I'm using actual functions to spawn them in. Another thing that's special about this maze is the way the different segments are generated. Let me just delete the maze again by 1 sec. Tag maze delete. Right. So the way this is generated, first of all, I'm summoning an armor stand in the middle here, and then I'm spawning the next 4 segments into these 4 directions. But the special thing about the way I'm summoning these segments is that I'm only summoning segments which are in fact connected, so that way you can't get stuck. In my previous maze you could actually get locked in, I think, not sure anymore, but I just randomly cloned one of the segments in, which wasn't really that great, and I think I also just had 3 segments, which wasn't really random. For this one though, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 segments, and I'm spawning them in a very specific fashion. So let's say this is the middle segment, then this segment can never be spawned next to this one, because the middle here is actually blocked. So this block would be right here, and the path would be not accessible, which is not great. So I'm only spawning the segments which are connected to this middle one. And I'm doing the same thing again into this direction. So first of all, I'm spawning the red one, the blue one, then the red ones, and then the yellow ones relative to the red one. So this one is always connected to this one. And that way I always have a guaranteed path, like here, 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 and here. I mean, I could have just spawned the segments in a 3 cluster like this and just check if the middle one is connected or these 2, but that would have meant that the maze is more likely to always lead into this direction and be blocked here, which is not great. So with this one you always have the probability of staying in the general same area, which is great. Another cool feature about this maze is that it can actually change while you walk through it and look into different directions. So let's look into this direction and then look away for a second, and it changed. So every time you look away for a few seconds, a new segment will be cloned in, which is pretty neat. Did you see that? And it works in all of the 4 directions. So if we just spin around it will shift all over the place and make it weird and confusing to navigate through. So let's take a look at the code that makes all of this happen. So in the general function file, I first of all check, depending on where the player is, if a new segment has to be spawned in. I have a score called center, which you in the beginning saw on the sidebar display. And it basically indicates which segment is in the middle. So I have 9 armor stands, 1 for each segment, and I'm setting the score center for all of them to 0, and then setting the one closest to the player or entity to 1. I then execute from this armor stand with the score 1 and add all of these tags. Add left top, add left bottom. So for each of the 8 other segments which have to be around it, I add a tag. I then go over here, and if there already is a segment, I remove the tag again, which means that the segment does not have to be spawned in. And I just execute with an offset and check if there is an armor stand. If one of those tags is found, I then just spawn in a different segment again. So the tag origin just indicates where the segment is spawned in. So let's take a look at, I don't know, spawn left. So first of all, I'm checking which tag the armor stand has, because each tile, let's take a look, has a few tags which indicate which directions are not blocked. So I'm checking for the armor stand tags and then summon the according randomizer armor stands, which then randomly summon in one of those tiles. That also means that tiles which have more access are more likely to be spawned in because there are more randomizer armor stands. But that's okay, I guess. And the spawn left thing basically spawns in those randomized tiles, and if none of them actually work, then this random tile is called, where is it? Here. And this basically summons a randomizer armor stand for every single tile, if none of them actually works. So that's just to make sure if the way is blocked for some reason, I don't know, that I still have a segment which is able to be summoned in, even if it doesn't guarantee access to it. But I mean, I have 3 other directions too. So let's go into general again. So that's this part. Then what does that do? Right, that's for the rotation change. So I basically have a score which ticks up constantly, or ticks down in this case. And if in a certain time interval you look into both directions, then I just basically change the tile and call one of those functions I showed you earlier, and just I set the origin to the middle tile because that's where the player is, and then I, in this case, call the function spawn right, which just spawns a new segment to your right. And that's the same exact thing for all of the other directions. I just copy pasted that, changed a few numbers and values, so it wasn't too difficult to create. Then what else do we have? Mechanic wise, that's pretty much it. There's nothing really more interesting going on. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out actually. It's so smooth. In fact, let me go into spectator mode and show you how reliable and smooth this is. Okay, now it's starting to lag because lighting updates. But if we stay here, then it's just, oh my god, look at it, just look at it. Wow, I'm happy, guys. If you have any other ideas for things that I did a while ago that I could recreate again, just leave a comment and maybe I'll turn this into a mini-series where I go over all creations and improve them with my new command block skill. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, I'd be really happy about a like on this video. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.